is this the deepest choice? But it was a good conversation.
Do you know all the connections here locally to paper towns?
Yes. Yeah. That was why we chose it.
John, I saw an AMA one time, John Green, like deep dive talking about all the things in Orlando.
Well, he was just here, I think it was in November, and I was really pissed because we had booked tickets to the Dr. Phillips for a different show the same night he was there in a different theater, and I said to my husband, I was like, I might buy tickets to both and just sort of Hannah Montana, like pop in and out.
So this is the wrong direction for an Instagram.
Okay, that one is best, I think, so we just need to...
Oh, here we go, we can go this way.
There's like a 40-second delay, is that alright?
That's what it is,
Okay.
I don't know how we avoid that.
Maybe start it a minute before it actually starts, so that way they don't miss any introductions. Does that make sense?
I think we're live right now.
Oh, perfect. Okay.
That was my plan. Do you want to be on this one or this one?
I can go either way.
Who's the other
Sunrise?
Let's go ahead and pop it in here. See, we're not seeing it. Okay, I can go wide.
I might need to come back though.
That's like the worst one.
Like maybe the
Or we can try to make. No.
I don't really want to put things on in that
Other phone?
Let's see. Like that's just feels like home. So my family is
Do you think we can just pull these legs in closer? Is that okay?
It's going to change the angle. See, it's going to make it higher.
Is that okay?
No, that's less stable.
Okay.
I don't want to mess with that.
Oh, yeah, I like that one.
Right next to Chris.
No, I get that. Yeah, it's definitely, it's so good. One down, maybe go.
Oh my gosh.
I know a little bit I know a little bit about
I think there's a 10-second delay. So I would say like once Pastor Harris sits down, maybe go ahead and start it.
Alright. Okay. Oh. You're at town? Okay.
And good afternoon. That was loud. We're gonna get that one, please. Hello, everyone. Welcome. I'm Pastor Sarah Robinson, pastor here at Audubon Park Church. Been here. Audubon Park. I've been here in the neighborhood for 12 years, but you're sitting right now in the first building in Audubon Park. It was a planned community. This is the first building built in 1953-54. And then they built the sanctuary right here through here about 10 years later. So there's a lot of history that we're sitting in too. So we're so grateful to have you all come today and to have you all come today. Thank you. Having an opportunity to hear from candidates like this and to be able to talk with and hear from you all is a huge privilege. And having an active group of voters who are engaged and wanting to know is a really important big deal too. So I am grateful for you all for showing up today. I don't want to just talk endlessly and delay because we want them to talk, right? So I wanted to just be really clear. We are filming. It's going live on YouTube and Instagram. So it's on Audubon Park Church's YouTube and then on the Sunrise Orlando Instagram and the Orlando YIMBY Instagram. And so I'm sure you'll be able to pick up pieces later if you missed any of that. And we had people submit questions, and y'all got a chance to at least glance at those, I think, hopefully. Yes, good. And so we're going to start. We're trying to be as fair as possible. There's 6 candidates, and we can't be here until tomorrow morning. I'm sorry. I've got church to prepare for. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna give them each to start with 2 minutes, just to be able to share a little bit more. And then I need you to know for the other questions, we've told them only a minute. I know. So you need to just be aware they're doing their best to have a comprehensive answer in 1 minute. And if they don't get to everything you're curious about, you can follow up with them. Yes? They want to talk to you about those things further. But just because we've got 6 people to answer each time, we're trying to make it as short as possible. And no, this is intended to be nonpartisan. This is not a debate. This is a chance to hear from each of the candidates, okay? So with those realities of the limitations of the format, I think we are ready. So if you all would like to start with intros, we will begin. Feel free, you can stand or sit, whatever you'd like.
All right. Good afternoon, everybody. So excited to see so many of you here today. It's really unbelievable to see you want to participate with all of us as candidates today. It's really inspiring to me. I'm Jason Albu, as you know, running for District 3 Commissioner. My father came to the United States from Brazil, eventually met my mom. We moved back overseas, and I came to Central Florida when I was 6. And really grew up in the public school system here, and finally went to the University of Florida, graduated, moved back to Orlando, and my dad decided to leave his construction job to start his own company. He invited me to help start it with him. So we had a little small guest bedroom upstairs in our house that we started the company from, and over the years, now have grown it to be a Golden 100 OBJ, Orlando Business Journal company. We have anywhere between 20 to 40 employees working with us at any time. We won several different awards throughout in the construction industry, but also it's allowed me to give back through nonprofits, been involved in different nonprofit boards as well as industry boards. And really what I want to do is bring that leadership to this district. But I forgot to mention too, the most important thing is that I have, I'm married over 20 years, I have 4 kids. I also, we have a new puppy, Maple, who's joined us. And so that, I forgot to mention them, that's what I should have started with them and then moved into the rest. But we have, with that leadership, I want to not just not just guide District 3, but I want to provide a world-class city for my children. So when they graduate, ones at UCF, ones at Winter Park, ones at Glen Ridge, and ones at Fall Park Elementary, that they graduate, they don't want to go anywhere else because Orlando is the place to be for the reasons of I'm going to bring better economic development, better transportation, better housing. We're going to have better recreation and also a much safer city as well.
Hello everybody, my name is Samuel Chambers, and again, thank you all for coming out here. As my slogan says, I've been showing up for you over the past couple of years, not just the past couple of months, from speaking at City Hall, from serving as one of the elected soil and water supervisors of Orange County, so I'm the only elected official in this race, from attending neighborhood meetings, just cleaning up and beautifying our neighborhoods on weekends like I just did this morning. I've been showing up for you. The number of issues I care about are housing security, putting workers first. I believe in stopping urban sprawl. I also believe in protecting green space. You can go on my website, chambersfororlando.com, and see a list of all my priorities there and all the things I passionately believe in. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Roger Chapin. Thank you all for coming. Thank you to the sponsors. Thank you to the candidates. A little bit about myself. I was born and raised here. I played Little League Baseball right over at North Orlando Kiwanis in the field around the corner. I attended public schools here. Went off, had my first job at Church Street Station as a guest service host. Went on to FSU and came back and fortunately was gainfully employed by a company called Darden Restaurants, which was a homegrown company. So worked there for 5 years, and after that was employed with Mears Transportation, another family-owned business, for 20 years. My wife Susan is here. We've been married 27 years. So hello. We started a family in 2001 with our first child, Blair, and then about 4 months later, I lost an election. This one. I ran for this seat 23 years ago. And while I was, pretty disappointed when that happened, it turned out to be a blessing to let our family focus on a next period of time that was very difficult for us. But I never lost my passion for being civically involved. So from there, Mayor Dyer appointed me to the Municipal Planning Board. I was later appointed to the Downtown Development Board. I'm currently serving on the Orlando Utilities Commission Board. I was fortunate to serve as one of 5 on the Oversight Committee for the Dr. Phillips Performing Arts Center to make sure that was built and will last a lifetime. It's a beautiful building. I was fortunate to be involved in the UCF coming to downtown. So currently, my wife and I live in College Park. My daughter, Gray, is 21. She's a senior at the University of Florida, and I'm happy to be here. You'll hear more about the issues in a minute.
Good afternoon, my name is Christopher Durant. I was born and raised right here in Central Florida in the Rosemont community of District 3. And I know you're asking, I'm not related to Kevin Durant. But I am good in sports. Actually, I'm a youth sports coach. I coach basketball, and I mentor young kids in the Rosemont community. And that's critically important to me, that we're setting up the next generation for success here in Central Florida. And that's why I have the energy to go out all day and knock on doors, meet voters like you, and ensure that we're living in Orlando that's affordable, that's walkable, that's bikeable, and ensure that our children are set up for success. A little bit about myself. Not only was I born in Rosemont, my family is a family of immigrants. My grandfather came to America picking oranges and sugar canes in Everglades. He's from Jamaica, and my dad is from Guyana. And they taught me and instilled in me the values of hard work, humility, and also serving your community. And those are the same values I want to implement at City Hall, on City Council, and that's really why I'm running. I'm running because I owe my community everything, and I want to ensure the next generation is set up for success, and our families right now. I'm 24 years old. He said he ran 23 years ago. I was probably 1 year old. So so I don't know about the shaking name. And also, apart from that, I believe the pendulum is swinging in our region to the next generation leadership. And I'm ready to step up and take the torch, stewardship, and start building a brighter tomorrow for Orlando. Thank you.
Hello. I'm really excited to be up here with me and Hannah as the two women in the race. I'm Kimberly Kiss. And to tell you a little bit about me, I grew up in Orlando as well. I think most of us did. I was raised by a single mom. I went to Howard, I went to Boone, I went to Valencia, I went to Rollins, and I'm now raising my family in College Park. In fact, my husband and my two kids are back here in the playroom. So thank you, Sarah, for having them as a part of the church. Jane and Artie wearing some cool shirts that she designed because she wanted to be a part of this campaign. And they were part of the impetus for why I wanted to run, was to say we've had a great run in Orlando, we've accomplished a lot of things, and we are ready for the next set of leaders to come in and focus on the future and what that needs to look like. I've been an estate planning and probate attorney for most of my legal career, which means I'm a lawyer, I'm a nerd, I like to read, and I know how to advocate, and I know how to stand up for the things that you want. And one quote that has really resonated with me, and I'll probably get it wrong, it was Mahatma Gandhi, and he said, if you're not including me, I'm paraphrasing here, and making the decisions, then you're not doing it for me, you're doing it against me. And I think it's really important as a city commissioner that we understand that I want to operate the way I do as a lawyer with my clients, meaning you are all my clients. I want to hear from you. I want to analyze the information together. I want to figure out together what we want to prioritize, and then go and be your voice and advocate for the things that we want. And I think, given my background in the position that I am now, I have a pretty good idea of that. But that doesn't mean I don't want to hear from you. And I've been out there knocking on doors almost every day in this heat, believe it or not. That's why I have my full neck fan on. I've got fans and water outside because I am acclimating to this heat. But it's important to get to all of you because this isn't about me. And I think they'd all agree. This isn't about any of us here on the stage. It's about really representing you. And I would be honored to do that. And I plan to work for everyone. Thank you.
Hi everybody, I'm here as Hannah. I'm really glad to be here. Thank you, Pastor Sarah. And I'm the daughter of immigrants from India and the Netherlands, and I've spent most of my career fighting for social justice and civil rights. I created a community coalition that held banks accountable for redlining practices and won over $3 billion worth of community benefits for redline communities. For the past 6.5 years, I've served as the grants manager for the City of Orlando. So I know City Hall really well. I take the bus to City Hall every day. And as the grants manager, I brought in millions of dollars to increase our tree canopy, to improve our water quality, to make our schools safer, to reduce the energy burden for working families, to protect our neighborhoods and communities from flooding, and to identify nature-based solutions so that we can adapt to the coming climate change that is here. And let me say that under Mayor Dyer's leadership, the city has passed very ambitious climate goals, which I'm really proud of. But unfortunately, when it comes to the largest source of our greenhouse gas emissions, transportation, we have stood still since 2010. We haven't moved an inch. And so I'm very passionate about making sure that we're going to invest in public transit and walkable and bikeable communities and safe streets so that we don't have to have people who are killed on our streets. We are the most dangerous by design here in Central Florida. And so that we can, when we invest in public transit, what we'll be able to do is we'll get healthier because we'll be walking and biking more. We'll be able to breathe cleaner air. Our main streets will be more vibrant because they'll be filled with foot traffic. And we won't have to use so much space for parking.
Vera, thank you. Sorry.
Oh,
You're good, you're good, you're good.
Thank you.
Yeah, just so you all know, we've got, remember your name again, Sophia's over here helping out with the timing. So I apologize, Mara, but you'll have a chance to talk about that more, I think. Okay, excellent. Thank you all so much. Yeah, go ahead, Samuel. You can start with this one. We'll rotate each one. So these are questions. We had more questions than we can cover in this time, so we did our best to kind of be representative of the questions. and kind of the issues that came out of the questions as well. So a couple of more general questions to start with. A majority of members of the City Council have been in their positions for more than 15 years. Do you support policies, I know it's a little strange to ask this before you're even elected, but do you support policies that would establish term limits for the Orlando City Council and mayor?
So I'm not against term limits, but I think the issue of why people are concerned is not necessarily the length of time people serve in office, but what they do in office. And too often do our politicians focus on special interests, not community interests. That's because there's money in politics. I believe in taking money out of politics, and that's why I'm working on an initiative to have public financing of elections in Orlando through a voucher program.
So just to be clear, it's a lot, too much if we do all the clapping. We won't get to all the questions. So I love that you love the answers, but let's keep it moving.
I'm generally not, historically I've not really been in favor of term limits. I think we have term limits every 2 or 4 years depending on your office. I do think it is refreshing to have 6 candidates here and we've all met each other, and that probably wouldn't be the case if there was a 20-year incumbent. So it's kind of opened my eyes a little bit to that issue. I think as it relates to Orlando City Hall, if we were going to consider term limits, I would think maybe 2 terms for a city commissioner and maybe 3 terms for a mayor. The mayor is a chief executive, has to set the tone, has to have a runway for some of these longer term initiatives. But for me, 2 terms, 8 years will be enough.
Before I answer this question, I just want to thank Commissioner Stewart for the 2 decades he served on City Council. He served longer than the 15 years that was suggested in the question. Secondly, I'm in full favor of reasonable term limits. I believe we should always be bringing fresh leadership with fresh ideas on City Council. Orange County already has term limits. Why aren't we doing this as a city? And also, as someone who's running to be the youngest elected commissioner in Orlando's history, I believe we should be opening the door for more leaders to come in. And term limits don't necessarily push people out. They invite more people in to run. They invite more people in to serve. They invite more people to use their passion to serve the city in a greater capacity. And that's what I'm all for. I'm for these term limits. Thank you.
Similarly, I'd say I would support them. It's not going to be a top priority. And I think this is a natural progression, what happens as a city grows, that if you have a pretty fixed state and you're going to have the same leaders for 20 or 30 years, I think Altamont Springs is going through this right now. They've had the same mayor for about 30 years, and that's about to change. And I think in Orlando, we could see this change. And maybe we do a term limit, maybe we do a limit of consecutive terms. Even over in Cocoa, they do this. You can serve 2, then you have to take a break, and then you could come back. And I think the point of it is just to recognize that the city is growing and changing, and that's dynamic. And so that our council and our mayor also need to be dynamic, because you shouldn't need one person for 20 years to see projects through. We want transparency. We want documentation of what they're working on so that someone would easily be able to take that baton and run with it for another 4 or 8 years, and then you can get back.
Similarly, I wouldn't be against term limits of 3 to 4 terms, but it's not an issue that I would really champion or prioritize because I want to make an impact directly on residents' lives. I would say less than 3 terms I'm not really for, because some of the things that I really want to work for, like expanding Sunrail to the airport and up the 441 corridor, those have longer time frames, and so I would like to be able to start something and see it through.
I'll make it short and sweet. I'm for term limits. You know, 2 or 3 terms is good for me.
Thank you. With increasing prices in groceries, housing, and transportation, working families in Orlando are being squeezed out of the city they've built. A majority of Orlando renters spend more than 30% of their total monthly income on housing costs alone. So what is one policy that you are fighting for to address the cost of living crisis?
So, really primarily you want to make sure you're watching the city's budget and making sure you're watching the dollars being spent. I'd say also there's going to be some interesting planning and zoning exercises that I think our city is going to be going through to allow for density appropriate development that will allow for more units to go online. When I was on the municipal planning board, we were really ahead of a lot of other cities when we started talking about density and developers coming in and if they wanted more density, we still made sure we protected the public with green space, with retail on the ground floor, with public art. On the downtown development board, we focused on residents in downtown. We talked about, we actually gave vouchers for Sunrail. We gave vouchers for rent assistance for companies coming to downtown Orlando. And as a member of the Orlando Utilities Commission, affordability has been, pretty much a standard pillar with reliability and sustainability.
Thank you.
Sorry, I didn't see the first 15.
It's okay, it's okay.
This issue is deeply, deeply personal to me because just as a young kid in the 10th, 11th grade, my family and I got priced out of our home in Rosemont, and I grew up there just off of Signal Hill Road in Rosemont. And as a young kid, I was thinking, man, we're moving out of town, we're moving out of state, and thankfully when we packed our bags, we moved down the street to a duplex. And I think that's beautiful, being able to still live in your community if you're being priced out. And that's what we need more of. We need zoning reform so we can have more duplexes, more triplexes, more cottage courts. We need zoning reform so we can, people can live in their community and not be priced out. I think that's critically important for everyone in Central Florida with the rising cost of living.
Well, like Chris, I can tell you I have some experience with this growing up because I was raised by a single mom, and there were parts of my childhood where we did live in affordable housing. And it was an opportunity where she could save money, and then she was able to buy a townhome. And I think the issue that we have with the cost of living is a common problem of a city growing, right? So this isn't unique to us, and the solutions are out there, and I think other cities are doing it well. And it's addressing all of these issues all together, right? So it's some of the things Orlando is doing, and we want to continue to do it and do more of it, which is investing in diverse options, and investing in affordable housing. And there are a number of ways to do that now with the new laws that are out. It's working on some of the zoning issues. I don't want to get too much into this lately, but parking is actually a big part of that, and it's been working in other cities. And put a pin in it because we're going to talk about Buffalo, and I lived in Buffalo, and that was the first city that completely did away with their parking restrictions on development, and it's been working really well for them.
After housing, transportation is the second biggest expense for most families and households. And so by creating transit-oriented development, we can make public transit, walking and biking a viable option for more people in this town. And that can decrease some families' household costs because they don't have to, not every adult will have to own a car. And when we do transit-oriented development, that means we have less land going towards parking and more land going to affordable housing, so that brings down the cost of housing as well.
It's going to be all day. I agree with much of what the other candidates are saying, is that there's has to be some changes to zoning, make sure we can have some more affordable housing. Add the supply of that would be one way. Another thing I was saying we need to do is try to upskill some of our some of the people that live in our city to give them better opportunity with better jobs. So in the construction industry, some of the entry-level jobs you can make $25 to $35 an hour, and that would be much higher than maybe a starting salary for somebody that's in hospitality. So looking to try to not just lower the cost of housing, but also have their income increase as well to go with it. And also, if anybody doesn't know, United Way has 211. If you call that, they can help you out with if you have problems paying your utility bills. OUC has money available. So if anybody's struggling right now, feel free to use that number.
So one of the things I've actually done is read city code, and city code says no amount of money is required to go into the Affordable Housing Trust Fund. I would like to make that a solid amount. I think we also need to raise the city's minimum wage, which was last raised in, or passed in 2019. I support when we contract out with other businesses because the city can't do everything in-house. We have fair contracts that support high wages, good benefits, and also strong unions, because where there are strong unions, there's better wages, better benefits.
Okay, thank you all so much. Bordering District 3 is the 1,056-acre Orlando Executive Airport, primarily serving general aviation, including corporate and private aircraft. So the airport is located around the downtown core of Orlando, and an idea that has been tossed around is potentially repurposing that land. Would you support that repurposing into something else? And if so, what would you support using those acres for?
Number one, I wouldn't be opposed to repurposing this land, but before we even get to that, we have to make sure that this is feasible and environmentally viable to do. Because number one, this used to be a military base. It was created in the 1920s as a military base, headquartered by the Army and also the Navy. And we have to make sure that this soil isn't contaminated, number one. Also, where will these planes go? Are they going to go to Kissimmee Gateway? Are they going to go to Sanford? Are they going to go to OIA? Did we get approval from the FAA? I don't know if you know, but in Chicago, the mayor of Chicago in the 2000s, Mayor Daley, he bulldozed an airport called Michael's Airport, and he got hammered by the FAA. So is that the same thing that's going to happen here? We have to ensure that this is a good idea and it's environmentally viable. Because the worst thing that could happen is we put residents here, and there's things underground that's going to ruin their mentality, their well-being, and their health. So I'm all for public safety, number one, and making sure this is viable.
Well, just to echo Chris's sentiments, I have a feeling the airport is going to be a brownfield. And as we know, that's when hazardous materials on the land, and it may or may not be able to be developed. But I'd be curious to know what someone might want to put there. The other concern with developing the airport, I think, is the number of helicopters that service the police and the hospitals and everything in the local area. But next to the airport is a Fashion Square Mall and a number of other corridors along Colonial, which if you grew up here, you know, we used to go to Sweet Tomatoes, the movie theater, the library, the Fashion Square Mall. And now we have a lot of abandoned or underused commercial and retail space that could be repurposed into housing. I know the U.S. Skateboard Olympic coach is looking for an East Coast place to have a training facility. Could be a really good opportunity for our community and for some of our children to have something like that here to inspire them. And so I would like to have the conversation about what we're doing with that corridor.
All right, so I'm going to go a little, veer a little off topic, but I'm getting back to it, which is we have the opportunity at the city to apply for a $12 million digital equity grant. And I was pushing for how can we have Wi-Fi downtown that's available to everybody and also serves Paramore, where only 50% of households have reliable internet access. And so a friend of mine at Florida Space Institute said, a tethered balloon is your solution. I was like, what? A tethered balloon? I could imagine it there downtown, iconic. But it turns out that it was not a feasible solution because there's a height restriction downtown due to the Orlando Executive Airport. So I think, you know, there are a lot of things that, you know, we probably haven't thought of that are opportunities if the land use were different, so it'd be good to think about that. But having said that, it is our relief airport for OIA, so it serves an important function right now. It is an opportunity zone, that area, so we need to be looking at development around the airport. And finally, GOA does have a lease there until until 2065. Thank you.
All right, you know, I don't think the city could do much with that property. I mean, GOA runs that, they own that, and I don't see them giving them back to the city. It would be cool to see what you could do if you could take all that back, but I don't think it's something that's going to happen. But GOA they do own some of those shopping centers out front, so that would be something possibly that could happen. You could take those shopping centers down and then put either affordable housing or something that would be a better use than just they're kind of abandoned now. Not really much happening. Another thing, and as Kimberly was saying too, with the Fashion Square Mall, that's a great development opportunity. So when I come in, I definitely want to have a conversation. I know the developer that owns the land, and also the bank that owns the buildings. You know, I try to get them to come together and get that deal done so that you could really do something special with that property.
I also want to echo the concerns of Mr. Durant. I think we need to look at to see the feasibility of it, the environmental impact that it could have if we decide to build on it. But if we do find that it's feasible, it needs to be a place for one, a planned development where there's more affordable housing and attainable housing, and also green space with transit access, whether that be through the bus or micromobility, walkable, bikeable neighborhoods, and so forth. It's also important to look at the other benefits associated with it. I think Ms. Tanner mentioned this. We have height restrictions in the city, so when we do build, we need to build more densely in our downtown urban core, and we're prevented in doing that because of the executive airport. We can't build as high. So I think those are some of the things we need to look at.
Thank you. I was kind of surprised to see the question. It's not something I've heard of from any voter or any door I've knocked on. I tend to agree with the fact that GO is not going to give it up. It's not a priority for me, but as Jason mentioned, some of those offices and commercial buildings around the hospital, in fact, GOA doesn't allow leases beyond 5 years. So there's nobody that wants to go in there and spend the capital on tenant improvements if they can't have a lease beyond 5 years. And so I would focus on something like that. I would focus on something like getting the players together, like Jason mentioned on Fashion Square. So I don't think it's super realistic. If somebody wants to come up with a big plan, and I'd certainly be open to reviewing things like that.
Thank you. So the site of a former golf course along Lake Orlando in Rosemont is being developed into the Rose Arts District. Once all phases are complete, the district will offer 5,650 multi-family dwelling units, 350,000 square feet of commercial development, up to 65 acres of parks and green space, and a variety of mobility options, including biking and walking trails, electrical charging ports, scooter stations, and transit access. Sign me up. Existing residents have protested the development and demand greater upkeep of existing housing in the neighborhood before adding new development. So, do you support the Rose Arts development? If yes, how would you work to address resident concerns?
So to answer the first part, I don't know that, I think it's already past the point of supporting or not supporting. It's been approved and it's happening, right? So if I have learned anything from this experience and talking with everyone about it, it's that it's really important to bring everyone to the table to have a conversation. And I think as a lawyer, as someone who has done litigation and often ends up in mediation, that it's really important to get everyone in the same room to have those conversations and to make sure that their voices are being heard by the commissioner, but also by the developer, the development team. This is something I feel really passionate about. I know Roger and I were on the Lake Orlando Homeowners Association meeting together recently, and we got to talk about this. And I think one area where Orlando has been underserving Rosemont is that it's the only neighborhood that doesn't have something comparable to a Main Street program. So I've met with a lot of the Main Street leaders, and they are doing so much. The point of the Main Street program is economic development, but they are really leaders and pillars of the community, and Rosemont needs that. Sorry, my time is up.
I live in Rosemont, and so I've been involved in what's been going on. I've weighed in on it in a number of ways, and my first concern was about how the project was going to be phased. I wanted to make sure that we didn't end up building a spine road through our neighborhood, have the developer run out of money, and then have a road to nowhere. And so I was able to weigh in on the phasing, on making sure that we don't destroy all our beautiful trees in Rosemont, and make sure that there's a percentage of affordable housing. Right now, the stormwater permit is before the St. Johns River Water Management District, and I've seen some modeling of the floodplain. And so even though in general I am for denser housing in our urban core so that we can conserve our outlying areas, I am worried about about phase 2 and phase 3 of this project and the possible flood risk. I've been,
I just want to thank the two that got stuck on the end, just because of your alphabet last name that you're having to do all the passing, jumping up. So I want to thank you. So.
As it pertains to the project over at Rosemont, I think, like I said, all those approvals have already taken place. So at this point, I think it's now about the developer and the construction company and the people that are involved to being good neighbors to the people of Rosemont, helping them, making sure they're not using vibration rollers and shaking everybody's houses, and they're doing things to warn them. There's going to be an early pour for concrete. They want to make sure that they're making it as smooth as possible during the construction process. I think is important, and then also trying to find ways to find, if there's some good jobs that are be coming into that area, or if there's opportunities for employment within that Rose Arts district, that would be a benefit to the community. I think we just got to try to make it as good as you can. I know some people were disappointed with some of the heights of the buildings, but you got to try to adapt and hopefully find a something rosy with the project.
So I've been showing up for you, knocking on doors in Rosemont, and I've only ever heard one person tell me they want to keep the golf course just as is. I haven't heard anyone besides that say more of that position. There is some development that the citizens want. I think there's concerns with the height in some of the areas. Also, when I say I believe in protecting green space, I truly mean it. So I think there's problems with how Rosemont is in the Wakaiwa water basin, and Lake Orlando actually used to be called Lake Wakaiwa. And when there's a storm, it floods. So if we're going to put concrete down there, there's going to be so many problems. So I think some development is needed. I just disagree with what has been proposed.
So I think this project touches on a lot of good things that people in this room want, right? More housing, more connectivity, green space, a planned unit. I do think they got some things wrong. I think if I was the commissioner then, things that I would have pushed for is less apartments. You look at the packing district, you look at Baldwin Park, and you've got a big mix of for rent and fee simple ownership. So I would have liked to have seen a better mix beyond the apartments. My Rosemont friends tell me that all of the code enforcement and a lot of the issues they're dealing with come from the apartments. That's a fast 2 minutes, or a minute. Sorry. We do need to make sure we hold developers' feet to the fire now that it has happened. But I would have liked to see more public-private partnerships like the packing districts, where the city had a park, where maybe the YMCA had a role to play.
Thank you.
I tend to agree with the sentiment of Chapin and Chambers of what they said. The environmental risk that this project has, and the flooding risk as well. As someone who was born and raised in Rosemont and still lives there, this project, I don't agree with it. I'm not in favor of it. I believe that it's too dense for Rosemont on that abandoned golf course. And also, it doesn't fit with the surrounding neighborhood. If there's anything I believe, it's that no neighborhood should be radically changed or radically developed. And I believe this is radical. We're talking about 5,000 units, which would probably be around 7,000 to 10,000 people if it's 2 people per unit. And it's very high. You don't see buildings that high or apartment complexes that high in a single-family suburban neighborhood like Rosemont. It's just not feasible. It's not environmentally friendly. And I believe that the best use of that land would have been duplexes, triplexes, a good mixed use, like Chapin said. And yeah, that's what I'll push as your next commissioner.
Okay. Thank you all. About 2,000 Orlandoans are unhoused based on the 2025 point-in-time count, over 40% of whom are seniors and children. The city currently does not operate its own shelter, and all private shelters are oversaturated in the Paramore area of City District 5. So this is a question about the a proposed Soto shelter. Would you have voted in favor or against? If elected, what would you do to develop an emergency shelter in District 3? What steps would you take to reduce homelessness and support unhoused residents? Yep, in 1 minute. I know, this is challenging. Hopefully y'all are giving them some grace for recognizing 1 minute is not enough to answer some of these very complex questions.
Absolutely, I would have voted for it. I am clerk of the Orlando Quaker meeting here, and I also take public transit and work downtown. There is not a day that goes by where I don't see the need out there from our business community or from people who are on the verge of homelessness. Just yesterday, I got a call, somebody calling our church to ask. She had called, I don't know how many organizations, probably 15, and couldn't get the last $150 that she needed for rent. She was going to get a late fee, and she would be out on the streets because she couldn't afford that. We need to do more. We need to do better. This is a hard issue. One of the things I would like to see is a homeless city council so that homeless people have a voice here as well. That's one thing that was really missing in the Soto shelter conversation. We missed those voices of people who are experiencing that and who need to be helped.
So the Soto shelter that was kind of a difficult fix for, I think, what the problem is. And so I don't think it was a great location. There's a lot of housing that's going to be developed through there, and I think a lot of that would have not happened if the Soto shelter went up. So I think it would have had a major effect on a lot of, like I said, housing development in that area. As it pertains to having something, locally, I definitely would want to explore that. And the hard part about putting a homeless shelter somewhere is that nobody wants that in their backyard, right? So where are you going to put it where it's going, where the actual people of District 3 are saying that's a great place for a homeless shelter? So that's something that would have to be discussed with the residents that live in our district and make sure that we can find a good solution. It is a terrible problem, something that we need to work on, and it is definitely a solution that takes more than 1 minute to talk about. So I think that's probably if you want to meet with me after, we can talk more about it.
First off, if the vote came to the city council and I was on the city council, I would have voted yes. In terms of addressing homelessness in District 3, I think there's this kind of false notion that the only solution is shelters. No, housing solutions is what we need. We need to incorporate people experiencing housing insecurity into our neighborhoods, because the problem people have is when there's a concentration of poverty in the neighborhoods, we need to, like I said, incorporate people experiencing housing insecurity into our neighborhoods through actual housing solutions. Shelters is just something that's temporary.
I did not support that shelter, a no-barrier shelter, abutting a neighborhood. The businesses didn't support it, the neighborhood didn't support it, the city rolled it out with little communication, with little planning, little strategy. In fact, the district commissioner, Patty Sheehan, eventually pulled the plug on it as well. So I serve on the Coalition for the Homeless Capital Campaign for Women and Children, and yes, we are full and we don't have enough space. But Orlando has disproportionately taken responsibility for homeless for the entire region. It's time, what's Winter Garden doing? What's Lake Mary doing? What's Sanford doing? What's Winter Park doing? What's South Orlando doing? I think Orlando has disproportionately taken the responsibility for homeless. It's a regional problem, and we need a regional solution, and we need a lot more partners than just the city of Orlando. Thank you.
As a citizen and also as a future elected official, I believe I have a moral obligation to uplift and improve our unhoused neighbors. However, I don't believe this project was the best fit and was the best decision for that. Number one, they were too far away from the resources in the downtown core with nonprofits like Christian Service Center, Coalition for the Homeless Network, like you mentioned, Identity, and all these other nonprofits that are doing amazing work in the downtown core. Number two, I believe that wasn't the best location for it. Great idea, but wrong location. The community had overwhelming outcry in not supporting this. The city council decided on it without having a lot of community feedback, and I felt like they disrespected the Soto community and the District 4 neighbors, and also the businesses that surround that location. And as a commissioner, as your next commissioner, I believe that it's my duty to listen to the neighborhoods, to listen to what you want, and where would you like for these things to be, and that's what I plan on doing. Thank you.
Okay. District, yeah.
Sorry.
Did you have an chance to go ahead? Yes. Sorry, I kind of got lost who started. Thank you. Go ahead, please.
Yeah, so sure I want to answer it because I think clearly, as you can tell, this is a hot topic for Orlando. I'm going to tell you the truth. I would have voted yes simply out of the fact that the idea that if I voted no, that other people were going to still continue to sleep on the streets when we could have had an emergency shelter for them is a little bit of an issue for me. I understand the concerns, and really I see two issues here. It's not really whether we vote yes or no on this. The issue is we need the community to buy in. I think we'd all agree we don't want families, we don't want our seniors living on the street, right? But a shelter is meant to be emergency and temporary. What we need to look at, and what other cities have looked at, in fact, Raleigh has been doing a really good job at this, and they are a bigger city, but their homeless problem is 3 times as big as ours in the region. And they have been investing as community partners, big businesses, small businesses, nonprofits, in creating permanent housing to help these families and to help these seniors transfer from shelters to permanent housing to finding jobs and secure them.
Okay, everybody did answer that now, right?
Yes.
Okay, good, thank you, sorry. Okay, District 3 is home to some of the region's most historic and unaffordable neighborhoods. What are your plans for increasing affordable housing stock throughout your district? So you got to answer a bit of this, so if there's more you want to share about this topic, there's an opportunity now.
So there's, like I think we mentioned, talked about zoning, increasing the ability to take a house and add an additional dwelling in the backyard, or creating a duplex out of a single-family home. I think you look at doing things like that to add, housing supply to the market. We also have the ability to incentivize the affordable housing developers with. A lot of times, if you just take away the impact fees, transportation fees that the city charges, then that's enough to make the development work, or the city can then look at possibly doing loans, low interest rate loans to help those projects move forward. Construction property is very expensive, but the city's involved in helping. I think we can see a lot more of that come on.
Again, I also, like I said before, believe in actually funding the Affordable Housing Trust Fund here in Orlando. But I think outside of that, we need to look at inclusionary zoning. That means in our neighborhoods, rather than, I've seen this in College Park, where they'll tear down a house and they'll put up $1 million house right there. That's not affordable for the next generation of adults. I have people in my family that are being priced out of Orlando. And so what we need to do is have inclusionary zoning where we have townhomes, ADUs, or duplexes or quadplexes that are able to be built in these neighborhoods, so people aren't being forced to either A, rent an apartment, or buy $1 million house. And that's me trying to solve the issue of missing middle.
So planning and zoning, we talked about a lot being torn down. If you reduce the minimum size of a lot, there might be a potential to put 2 houses there where there was 1. 2 new things passed in the legislature pertaining to affordable housing. One is for municipals and institutional owners. Think about theme parks, think about hospital systems. If they can put land together, they can qualify for state funds, they can qualify for expedited funding, they can qualify for rezoning. They essentially can go to the front of the line. So I think that's an area where I could bridge the gap. I know there's some YIMBYs in the room. Well, there's something called YIMBY, God in my backyard. And so they also passed a law that allows churches to get into the affordable housing business. And so if you have a church and maybe you have 6 or 7 acres and you don't need it, or you want to build a new worship hall and do affordable housing, the church can stay there and they can move up the list on expedited funding and rezoning. So I would support those.
Like I stated before, I think it's critically important that we're supporting zoning reform that allows more duplexes, more triplexes, and most importantly, more ADUs, or as the former generation calls it, granny flats or in-law suites. I think that's critically important. Also, Orange County has a program that allows you to have pre-built models and pre-built designs for ADUs. The city of Orlando does not have that. And I believe we need to do that to streamline the permitting process to allow people and property owners and developers to build ADUs easier and more convenient. That's one way we can address the affordable housing crisis that we have right now. Allow people to build easier. We can't make it more affordable to live if we're making it expensive to build. That just doesn't make sense.
So there are a lot of ways the government can be involved with supporting affordable housing, and I think the gentlemen here have hit on a lot of those ways because we do have new laws and we have local law, which provides a lot of opportunity for that. I could tell you as a city commissioner, I would be looking to our developers and to our nonprofits to say, what are your creative solutions? For example, when I lived in Buffalo, there was a lot of cooperative housing, and they would take a bigger property, they would start a co-op, they could all live there, and there would be families, there would be teachers, there would be engineers, and people who simply wanted to live in a community and share a lifestyle together and share opportunities. And I think Orlando is really ripe for something like that. You know, I hate the idea that teachers who work in District 3 can't afford to also live in District 3, right? They are the backbone of our community in a lot of ways. And so we also want to make sure that we are either subsidizing housing for teachers or providing opportunities specifically to them so that they can live and work in the district. Find me, because this is a regular topic at my dining table and I have a lot of ideas.
And cool, because I helped I started a housing co-op in St. Louis once. So I talked a little bit about transit-oriented development already, and I also want to mention parking minimums as another issue that can help increase affordability of housing. I also would like to see land recycling, where the city is purchasing property that are brownfields and cleaning up the brownfields and restoring them to productive use, putting them for affordable housing or selling them for economic development, and then taking that money to buy more brownfields. We see all up and down 441 a lot of development opportunity for affordable housing if we can clean up some of that land. I'll leave it there.
Thank you. So those were kind of all housing related. We now have a section of questions that are more transportation related. Oh wait, yeah, we're good, we're starting? Yes. I keep on fooling myself, sorry. Thank you that you all are keeping track. All right, so a biggest concern from the Orlando's bike community is safety, and rightly so. Orlando ranks among the worst regions in the country when it comes to bicycle and pedestrian safely. So we've got some projects that are trying to address this, but also kind of unevenly sometimes. So I want to ask questions about how you ensure projects in District 3, like Edgewater redesign, Corinne redesign, a lot of us in this room have lots of passion about, because Corinne is right down the road here. Prioritizing them for safety for bicyclists and pedestrians. Regardless of what, you know, it's a car-driven society, but we're trying to multi-use it. So regardless of motorists, how do we make it safer for everybody?
That's a big question.
Yeah.
So I know how dangerous being a cyclist in Orlando can be, because I actually been hit by a car in College Park where there was no bicycle infrastructure, right? And so, like I said in my campaign slogan, is showing up for you. When there were the Edgewater redevelopment plans, I attended those meetings, and frankly, unless one of my opponents were there, I don't remember them being there. I think that with the city's proposal, it came back with a 30% plan, and the 60% plan was the exact same. And they wanted to remove existing bicycle infrastructure. I'm for protecting green space. The only concrete I want to see is for protected bike lanes, bike paths, and sidewalks. And that includes, on the Corinne project, making sure that the bicycle infrastructure extends all the way into Baldwin Park, not just stopping at General Reese for no good reason, in my opinion.
I think District 3 has done a great job with Corinne Drive and Edgewater Drive, you know, balancing 2 or 3 main streets and 2 or 3 of these projects at a time. I give Commissioner Stewart a lot of credit. Everybody would like to see them done sooner. I fully support the Corinne Drive plan. And I know there were some fits and starts with Edgewater. You know, the timing of now that they're kind of coming in at the same time. So Corinne Drive has a lot of opportunities, primarily because of the infrastructure. It's a much wider street. You can kind of do it all. You can do walking, biking, parking, and slow traffic down. For those motorists who are going to complain about traffic slowing down, from Baldwin Park, it'll only take you, I think they said 43 seconds longer from Baldwin to Mills. So, you know, it's a road diet. That's what it's supposed to do, and it really should push more people down Bennett Road.
I believe first and foremost, we have to decide what these corridors are. Are they corridors that are going to prioritize speeding cars and cars getting through? Or are they corridors that are going to prioritize adding value to the businesses that face them? And if we try to do both at the same time, it would probably be terrible. But the one that we should prioritize is adding value to these businesses by investing in multimodal infrastructure. So that means more bike lanes. That means safer crossings. That means your kids can bike to school safely. And that's something I hear over and over again as I talk to parents and voters in Audubon Park and also in College Park. I'm not safe with my kid biking to school, whether it's Audubon Park, K through 8, Bishop Moore, Edgewater High School, Lake Silver. If your kid is not safe riding a bike to school, that means we're not doing enough as a city. Where our money goes is what we prioritize. And we're not prioritizing our children and our families right now. And I look forward as Commissioner to doing so.
So, do I have any other original hipsters in here? Yes, I see you. So I was one of those 20-somethings who rode my bike a lot of places, and I still have my single speed. It just doesn't come out very much because I'm a mom with 2 kids and 2 dogs and a cat and my husband. So we have the big car for carpooling and taking everyone around. And what I think Orlando needs right now, right? I think this is going to continue to shift as the decades go on, but right now we need the multi-module road. We need the bike lane. We need a place for people to walk or bike on the sidewalks because they feel safer. The electric scooters, the electric bikes are out there. And then we still have the cars. And so I think our roads need to reflect that we are all coexisting, and we need to really be pushing the message that we're coexisting. Like Chris, when I've been knocking on doors, I've heard safety about kids going to school. Having the right crosswalks, having the right lighting, having curb cuts in the right places. Hi, Mia, got more to say about that.
Yeah, I very much agree with Sam Chambers, Chris Duran, and Kimberly Kiss on all of this and the importance of safe streets. I couldn't agree more. And so that means we do need protected bike lanes. We need to make sure that the bike lanes are extended to Baldwin Park area. We need to make sure there's infrastructure for bikes and that it integrates with our public transit system. We need shelters there on Corinne as part of this project. And we need to see what the effect is going to be on the neighboring streets and may need to have more traffic calming on the streets around, am I losing?
Yeah.
On the streets around Corinne Drive. So the time it takes to get from one end to the other by car shouldn't be our only metric for success here. We need to look at how safe these are and how when we increase pedestrian traffic, it will support our main streets.
Here, I'm gonna switch you. I think that might be good.
And I agree with the other candidates were saying as well. And safety is the utmost importance. We definitely have some very dangerous streets. It's very difficult to ride currently through here. But I think as the commissioner, what I would really be pushing for is just getting things done. I mean, we've been talking about it and planning it and keep doing designs and charrettes and all, but how about let's go ahead and start building this thing so we can actually have this multimodal way of getting through our neighborhoods. I think Edgewater and Corinne would just be such a much more special place when these are all finally put in place. So I would definitely be pushing to get all that done.
All right. Yeah, I think so. Okay. So we just want to give you an opportunity to talk a little bit more. We focus kind of on those specific projects, but talk a little bit more about infrastructure in general. With Orlando's growing population, increasing traffic, congestion, bike pedestrian demand, what infrastructure investments will you prioritize in the district, and then throughout the city in regards to these complex, things we're trying to balance. So it's a larger infrastructure, both in the district larger and then in the city. What sort of infrastructure would you want to push for, especially regarding safety around biking, pedestrians, because we know that is a huge safety issue.
Jason hit the nail on the head. It's time to start getting things done. I'm having the ability to work with all sides to get things done. Infrastructure, we've got the plans for Edgewater, we've got the plans for Corinne. In the larger city, we've got the O-line coming out of downtown and coming south towards Sodo. We talked earlier about the neighborhood improvement district and why that shelter might not have been the best place, but the O-line going south of downtown. As an OUC commissioner, we're already looking at ways to use the existing railroad track that OUC owns to extend Sunrail to the airport. So that's going to be critically important, and obviously going to save taxpayers a lot of money if we can use that existing line. I would love to hear from, I'm not a professional cyclist by any stretch of the means, but I would like to know about these e-bikes and the kids and the helmets and the speeding, and what are some of those solutions?
We aren't the same city that we were 30 years ago, 2 decades ago, even 5 years ago. We're growing at an exponential rate. There is 1,000 people moving into our region per week, and I believe we need to accommodate them with the right infrastructure. And these people are using different modes and alternatives of transportation. They're biking, they're walking. Their neighborhoods are more connected, more walkable, and we should be investing in infrastructure that improves this and enhances it even more. That means safer crossings, like I said before. That means better color delineation to separate the bike lanes and the car lanes to make it easily visible for the people that are cycling and riding cars. And I also think we need to invest in multimodal infrastructure. And also, we need to use all the city code to the fullest extent. They have a project right now called the Orlando Quick Build Project, where you can implement things quickly and get things done for infrastructure. And I plan on using that to the fullest extent to help our main streets and all of our corridors become more safer for parents, for children, and our children's children.
So I think one big priority with infrastructure in our district is going to be the connectivity, right? So Sanford does this. You can get off the Sunrail and they have a trolley that takes you to downtown Sanford. And I think this is something that we could really implement that would support our main streets, right? So here we have Baldwin Park, we have Audubon, we have Ivanhoe, we have College Park, and hopefully Rosemont, where we will have these small businesses in these what I think are community corridors. And I think we want to focus on having the bike and walk the car lanes, but then we also want to go a step further and have some other transportation that's really connecting these community corridors, even running up and down Edgewater or connecting College Park to Ivanhoe and Baldwin, so that we're getting people off the road and we're having fun that way. Wouldn't it be so fun to hop on the trolley and ride over to red light, have a beer, and then come home? I think it's going to be good for our community, it's going to be good for our transportation, and good for our small businesses.
So I want to see limo improve so that it's more effective and has higher ridership and doesn't spend as much money on that, so that we can spend more to invest in frequency of Lynx buses. But I also want to see Sunrail expanded up the 441 corridor. There's a plan for that. There's existing rail, and that would connect a lot of these transit-oriented developments that we've been talking about, whether in Apopka, Rose Arts, Packing District, to downtown. We also need connectivity between Colonial and Lee Road for bikes and pedestrians, because let me tell you, it is horrible. There are no bus shelters on the east side of the road, the sidewalks, there aren't sidewalks most of the way, and so it's really dangerous. And as we're increasing population in the Packing District and Rosarts, we really need to connect that area to downtown.
So infrastructure there's so much that's involved with infrastructure, but just some of the things they were saying is about creating a little more east-west instead of just the north-south with the Sunrail. We could find a way to get people to their place of business or wherever they're going. That would be a great infrastructure improvement, and increasing the bike lanes through the city, trying to find a nice path to make it safe to where you could really get downtown or around downtown okay without having any issues with your bike would be an incredible thing to happen. But I think what needs to be thought about too though is the city right now does a lot of underground infrastructure and does a lot of heavy digging, and they end up blocking small businesses that are along the streets. I see one of the small business owners here today that had to close their store because the city was not helping them bring business in. They were almost preventing their customers from being store. So we have to be cognizant and make sure that as a city that we're going to be helping small businesses if we're going through this construction.
Showing up in my community has let people in my neighborhood, my neighbors, let me know about different projects that they care about. If you show up to Lake Formosa, they tell you, we want a sidewalk on the south side of the lake. If you go to College Park, they say, why are we going to redevelop Edgewater Drive if we're going to take away the existing bicycle infrastructure? And it's something none of my opponents mention is, how are we going to get Sunrail to go on weekends, right? So those are some projects that I care about, and I've heard voters talk about wanting, and I also want to echo what Mr. Albu said about making sure we take care of our businesses when infrastructure is being done by identifying businesses where construction is being held and making sure we can give them some tax rebates or financial assistance.
Okay. Thanks, everybody. So this is to wrap up this section. We wanted to ask about your experience with the transportation here locally. The last time you used something other than a car, what your experience? I've heard a little bit actually from a few of you about that. We heard about a bike accident. I know Mary uses some, but I know I'll let you share. But just your experience with biking, walking, using Sunrail, riding links. What your experience, what you noticed, and what you're experiencing with.
Since the start of this campaign, I got an electric scooter to get around the community and the neighborhoods. Probably some of you haven't even seen me on my electric scooter, and it's easy to get around the neighborhood, and I love it. And I realized that our neighborhoods are they're pretty decent, but they need some work. I often use my electric scooter in Rosemont, College Park, and I haven't ran into an incident where I almost got ran over by a car, so thank God. And also, I believe our streets need work. They need more work, they need more bike lanes, it needs more connectivity. I was also thinking about, hey, what if I could ride my electric scooter from Rosemont to College Park? And I realized that 441 is terrible. It has no biking infrastructure, and that needs to be worked on, and I look forward to working on that as your next commissioner.
So I think I like the slip earlier, but biking around is one of my top choices. I think the heat and the weather here, honestly, is a real drawback, and we're going to talk about that later, but I think there's things that we need to be doing to help with that. Because my husband and I will often walk our kids to school. We can do that. We can walk to the grocery store. We can walk to get coffee. I can walk to the laundromat. And I think we want to strengthen this type of way of living in our communities, but a lot of people are held back by the safety and the speeding because I'm out there yelling at cars to slow down. So I think addressing the safety and the speeding is number one, right? Because we know we're going to keep all existing on these same roads. And you know what? I forgot the other part that I was going to say. Yeah, but mainly thank you.
So on December 30th of 2023, I was driving up Mills Avenue, got to the intersection of Colonial, was with my daughter and her friend. We were going to go eat at Taco China. But an oncoming car had a different idea for us. And they were turning left as we were going straight, there was an impact, the airbags went off, it was very dramatic, and it totaled my beloved Honda Insight. And so I thought about what I wanted to do. Did I want to replace it with a Chevy or a Ford or a Toyota or a Tesla? And I decided to replace it with a Lynx, the Lynx 106 bus and these 2 feet. So I have walked, let me tell you, 10,253 steps every day for the past year over District 3 and downtown. And the Lynx 106 is my main way of getting to work every day. I do take the car, you know, for visiting friends. I'll stop there.
So, unfortunately, I live in Baldwin Park, and so the biking and the walking trails around Baldwin, especially around the lake there, are really, really wonderful. And so I go out with my kids, and I rollerblade, and also I'll skateboard. I'll have a big longboard that I'll take, and they'll bike. Usually they're way in front of me. I can't quite keep up, but it's a lot of fun, and it just, you know, it would be great to see. You know, Baldwin Park has so much done right, and I would love to see that continue to be rolled out in the other areas within District 3. So it makes it fun to skateboard or rollerblade or bike through the area. So hopefully, you know, if I get a commissioner, I can help, you know, guide some of that.
I'm a cyclist. I mentioned that I get by car before biking in Orlando. So walk around my neighborhood. I take the bus downtown when there's big events like Pride or Martin Luther King Jr. Parade, because I just figured, you know, traffic's so terrible and you have to pay for parking. So why not take the bus? I also take the bus and the Sunrail down to City Hall when I have to deal with paperwork for this campaign. And if we really want to get specific, Ms. Kiss mentioned this. Just recently, my family took a trip up to Sanford, took the trolley downtown, went to a number of businesses there. I think that's a really effective use of public transportation. I would like to see something like that here in Orlando.
So like Kimberly, I live in College Park, so we are fortunate to walk by each other's homes. That's how close we live together. A little awkward at times. But we enjoy walking up to the wine shop, to Publix. Samuel, you asked about Sunrail on the weekends. In 2018, I led an effort to get the first dozen weekends paid for privately for free Sunrail on a dozen weekends. So it is critically important to expand that service. When I was employed at Mears Transportation, we were on one of the high-speed rail teams. It was Floor, Bombardier, and Mears Transportation. We were starting plans for high-speed rail from Orlando to Tampa when Governor Rick Scott canceled that program. So multimodal is important. I do bike. I probably e-bike a little bit more than the actual bike, but especially in this heat. But you know, we all gotta get a little exercise.
Me too. I'll be honest. Ever since I got my e-bike, it's easier to bike everywhere. Okay, thank you all so much. We're going to kind of move on to the last set of questions, climate questions. So everybody's doing okay? Everybody's up here okay? We're going to push through these last few questions. Thank you all so much. One of the impacts of climate change is this summer the Orlando area has issued record challenging heat advisories. These advisories mean temperatures can reach as high as 110 degrees in some areas. Often heat is amplified with elements like lack of tree cover and excess of asphalt that absorb heat. So what policies would you support to, you know, keep Orlando cool, to protect the Orlandoans from these effects of heat as much as possible, mitigate, and especially from heat-related illnesses? You know, think about all of our folks that work outdoors and just are trying to exist in Orlando.
So I'll tell you, I've been canvassing multiple days a week in this heat. So I've experienced, and am experiencing firsthand how very hot it can be. And there are days where I think I've come home really close to probably being too hot, but I'm trying to get to all of you, and that's just what it takes right now. And the concerns that I have to do with, number one, I think it's development. We see someone come in to develop a property, and the first thing they want to do is completely clear the land. And you take a lot of mature trees and the shade that we have, and you take it down. And I think there are smarter ways to develop and keep a lot of those mature cypress trees and oak trees and build a design within it. And I know that it can be done because my husband builds affordable housing and does this. In fact, if you see my logo, it's a tree because we do love nature and we love trees. And I think there's a way to do it that we'd say to support the community. Number two, I think we need to make sure that our community pools are fully functioning because it's a great place for people to go for.
In terms of policy, I would support an ordinance that requires landlords to provide air conditioning in a unit. I think that's really important. And in terms of what I've done, I have worked on this issue by winning grants for the city to expand our tree equity work. I won a $1 million urban and community forestry grant, which unfortunately this present federal administration terminated before we could implement that project that would have expanded the tree equity work. And I've also worked on raising money for the energy burden work, which is putting energy efficient air conditioning in the homes of low-income renters and making solar panels and backup batteries available to make sure that low-income renters can benefit from clean energy as well. So I would continue those programs.
So there's a handful of things I would do. I'm in the construction industry, so we're out in the heat, and it is hot, and so you definitely have to make sure you take your breaks and you stay hydrated during those hot days. But one thing in the construction industry we use too is instead of using asphalt, we use concrete. Concrete's much cooler. With a lot of the cooler roofs that we have, the white roofs instead of doing the black tar roofs. Some of these things can be mandated by the city or encouraged by the city to use on the project, as well as adding shade trees to the area, of course, would be wonderful. If the new developments did add that, and if there's some places that the city can add some trees, if it's in the budget to do something like that, would be beneficial. And then shade over all the different bus stops where we can afford to do it. It would be a phenomenal thing. I know sitting out waiting for a bus in this sun is got to be one of the worst things. So there's a lot of things to provide that extra shade for all residents.
I believe that as we continue to sprawl out as a city, that's more concrete, more roads, more parking lots that contributes to the urban heat island effect. So I believe in stopping sprawl, protecting green space, trying to do dense infill projects in our urban core like in the packing district, or potentially in the Fashion Square Mall. I think also climate change is an existential threat to not only us as Orlandoans, but just as humans. So I think we need to do a lot more investing in solar energy as a city. And unfortunately, I was advocating against OUC repealing net metering, but unfortunately they did. So that subsidy for solar was taken away. I believe in subsidizing solar.
If I'm a city commissioner, obviously we have to take care of our employees. So on these days, we got to make sure that there are breaks, there are hydration. Development, I think you can use some more porous type of products on some of these subdivisions. At OUC, we actually locked in 20 years for the solar, rooftop solar people. We've increased solar from 1% to 11%. We've gotten away, we are reaching our goals for CO2 emissions. We have goals for 2030, we have 2050. The city has very aggressive goals. We're meeting those goals. We're using more natural gas and getting away from coal. Natural gas happens to be a little more expensive, but it's about twice as clean. So at OUC, we are constantly balancing reliability, affordability, sustainability, and you can't do all one and not the other, but you got to balance all three.
there's anyone feeling this heat, it's me. It's been extremely hot. Just as Kimberly said, I've been knocking on doors endlessly, and I swear 2 weeks ago I was about Shapen's color. And now look at me. This is what happens when you knock on doors endlessly. But I love it, and I'm still going to do it. But anyways, we need to invest in more cooling stations. You see Orange County has it. You see cities around the country have this. Cooling stations. We can use our community centers as assets, community pools, fire stations, because these things surround the city, and they are in the center of every community. Rosemont has a fire station. We also have a community center. College Park has a fire station. They also have a community center. Baldwin Park has a fire station. We can use these assets to our benefit so residents aren't dealing with the heat effects. Also, we need to invest more in our urban tree canopy. Just last year, I believe Orlando counted their trees, and I believe we need to have more trees and raise the public awareness also for these heat advisory effects. Because as we raise awareness, more people will know when this time comes.
Okay, so I heard a couple of folks mention about parking mandates before. So this is essentially a question about that. Mandating parking has been seen to increase rent prices and contribute to sprawl. And so just wanted to give you a chance to talk about your ideas around parking mandates, parking minimums, etc. Do you support lifting parking mandates? How do you plan on combating urban sprawl? So this is kind of a combo question around those things.
Yes, I very much support lifting parking minimums. And, you know, this country of an estimated 2 billion parking spots. Considering that's about 6 spots for every person, every man, woman, and child. If we paid, put all those together, we would pay the state of West Virginia. We need to start thinking about creating a city that's built around people instead of cars. And people experience that when they go to Europe. They're like, oh, it's so walkable. I took public transit. It's easy to get from place to place. And they don't realize that that's because there are different ways of using land in different countries. So yes, I would definitely review that. Thank you.
Parking minimums are what you need for each development are different. So for an office building, it might be 4 parks per 1,000 square feet, or bowling lane, 4 parks for 1 lane. And I think there needs to be a little more collaboration between the actual person that's building it or developing that project and the city to discuss what's realistic or what they have traditionally in those developments. Because it doesn't always match. Like, they're not arbitrarily put in there. There's good logic and reason why they put the parks the way they are, but there's definitely times when the things are overparked. But businesses can also go out of business if they don't have enough parks, especially for a restaurant. I don't know if you see, there's an Italian restaurant right here on Corinne that has very little parking, and there's hardly anybody there, and I think that is contributing to it. So it's something that definitely needs to be adjusted and improved upon. I don't think we need to eliminate the whole thing, but definitely can be improved upon.
I just want to clarify that in this discussion of parking mandates, most people are not talking about, oh, we're just going to your mom and pop store, we're just going to eminent domain your parking spaces and build on that. That's not what we're talking about. We're talking about big developments where there are multiple parking spots per unit. We need to talk about eliminating government bureaucracy. This is government bureaucracy. I'm the only elected official on the state here, as I'm a soil and water supervisor, and actually sponsored a resolution just last year advocating for the cities, municipalities, and Orange County to lift parking mandates in downtown areas.
I'm certainly open to the idea of adjusting parking. I don't think we can come up with a one-size-fits-all. Edgewater is different than Ivanhoe. Ivanhoe is different than Corinne. But from a planning perspective, we've got wonderful dedicated planning officials, traffic experts. I do think there's some definite give and take. I think you talked about sprawl. Orange County and the City of Orlando are close to an agreement on a joint planning agreement. They call it a JPA. Once that's in place, we won't be having these discussions about Orlando jumping over the JPA line and annexing wide swaths of property. We need to get back to an agreed upon joint planning agreement where when the city does annex or the residents want to annex these small infill places, they're doing so in a manner that benefits their neighborhoods for services, and we don't have overlap of services between police and fire between Orange County and Orlando. So I think the JPA will probably be approved before any of us are elected, but we got to get the JPA back in place, a reasonable JPA.
I'm absolutely in favor of lifting parking mandates because, number one, cities all around the country are already doing this. Cities like Buffalo, New York, Chicago, Boulder, Colorado, Charlotte, North Carolina, Durham, North Carolina, and the list goes on and on. There's only one city in the state of Florida that has done this, Gainesville, Florida. And I believe we're behind as a city. We should be moving forward. And it's going to take forward-thinking solutions. It's going to take someone from the next generation to be able to do this. If it's expensive to build, why would you think it will be affordable to live? We should be in the business of housing people rather than housing cars. And I believe as your next commissioner, I'll make it a mission of mine to do this right away.
Well, I'll tell you, I love that we're having this conversation because clearly it's an issue that is going to come up for our next commissioner for Orlando because it is something that is rolling out across the country and other cities. And it's something that I think will inevitably happen here. Remember when I told you to put a pin in Buffalo? I lived in Buffalo for 3 years. And in 2017, they did away completely with all their parking mandates. Now, they were able to do this because they were not in a growth cycle. They have a really strong bike culture there. So I don't think that would be the best way for us to implement it. I think it's something we would slow roll. And a perfect example to start with, and honey, tell me if I'm getting the numbers wrong, but he had finished a senior affordable project recently, and they built the requirement for the housing development. I think it was 1.2 spaces per unit. And what they found was that there are almost 80 spaces per unit that are left empty every night. And so I think we have an immediate opportunity to take a case-by-case basis and say, people simply aren't using these, we don't need it. And right from there, you'll affect affordable housing cost. Okay, I think this is going to have to be the last question. We're at 3:59. We're going to squeeze one more in. And this is a question about one of the biggest obstacles to fighting climate change and many of the issues that we've been speaking about today, unfortunately, is corporations influencing politicians. And Orlando is no exception. And so the question is are you accepting money from corporations or developers?
Yes, I'm definitely accepting them, but if people honestly think that getting $500 or $1,000 from a corporation or a developer towards my campaign is going to change my values or who I am as a person, I'm going to make decisions because of that amount of money, I think you would see more developers investing in all of us if that was the case, because it's, if you could give somebody $1,000 and then do a $500 million development that was out of place and not meant for this city, then I mean it just makes sense. Every developer would be giving tons of money to everybody. So to think that that would be driving my decision making is definitely not the case. I mean that's not a I'm not a person that can be bribed, and so it would definitely not be something that I'd be holding favor to them because of their investment. But if they want to give me money, I'm going to use that to invest in spreading the word about all the great things I'll be doing to make the city of Orlando world class.
First of all, I'm a political science professor. Hopefully not. Votes don't chase the money, money chases the votes. That's how it works. Second of all, my answer is no. And I don't have to weasel my way out of that. I actually accept the majority of my donations here in Orlando as opposed to a few of my other opponents.
So I pulled out a piece of paper because I want to get this right. Yes, I have taken money from businesses, primarily small businesses. I have 309 contributions, and 11 of them are from businesses. None of them from fossil fuel industries or the evil climate change people. But one from a business downtown that is tired of the homeless situation. 5 from friends who own their own business. A couple of infill development clients. So they're smart developers. So the other thing is, all these reports are online. Go look at them. Go look at who's giving. Look at their addresses. See who's supporting the candidates. They're all online. Go look at them.
Yes, he's right. All the campaign contributions are online. You can search it. It's public record. But me personally, I haven't accepted a penny or a dime from a corporation or a developer. But if they were to contribute to my campaign, they wouldn't influence my vote. I'm only influenced by the people of this district, the doors I knock on, and hearing your concerns and what you're concerned about. People who contribute to my campaign are people who believe in my message and my vision for this district. And that's how I look at it. That's how I look at it.
So I have a couple of corporate donations, and they're from friends and family who wanted to give from their business. And I'll use the opportunity to say that most of my donations have come from my friends and family, and a majority of small business owners, and true small business owners, solo attorneys, yoga studio owners and instructors, people who live in the community and are providing services directly to the community. And that's why one of the champion causes for me is our small businesses.
I think this is one of the places that differentiates me from some of the other candidates here, that I signed the No Fossil Fuels pledge. I've gone up against big oil and big banks before. I'm not beholden to developers or corporate lobbyists or other corporate interests. And I will put residents first all the time.
Okay, last question, just real quick, down. Everybody got the answer, right? Yes, okay, how about that? Is where can the community find you next? I know that as much as you are able to for a little bit longer here, people will be able to kind of maybe follow up with you here, grab campaign material, you know, sign up for lists, things like that outside after this. But kind of where you're going to be next, however you want to answer that, where can the community find you next? We'll just do a quick rundown here.
So there will be a debate at Tiger Bay. I guess it's the end of September. I think most of us or all of us will be at that if you would like to attend and watch a debate. But I'll be knocking on a bunch of doors and continue to be knocking on a bunch of doors. So I might be coming to your house. So hopefully it'll be nice when I'm there. It'll be great. And also, you know, I will have other campaign events where we're trying to get some more information from what everybody wants to see District 3 look like. So if you follow me on social, I'm with Jason. Is all my social, Facebook, Instagram. You can find out where I'll be meeting, and you can feel free to join me and provide any feedback. And of course, I'll be here after as well to talk.
First of all, my website is www.chambersfororlando.com. You can look at anything you want about me on that website for the most part. When we have events, we post them there. But if you participate in community events, whether that be the College Park Neighborhood Association, a cleanup in Rosemont, or Lake Formosa, wherever it be, Samuel shows up. And so that's how you'll be able to engage with me if you want to hear more from me.
Where's the closest, coldest beverage from here?
Red light.
Yeah,
Red light. That's where I'll be. I want to thank our sponsors for today. I want to thank the other candidates. You know, this was our first forum, the 6 of us. We have all met each other. We all like each other. We all respect each other. I think you should be proud of everybody who's on this stage. I've visited extensively with just about everybody on this stage. So you can find me. I'm doing some walking as well. You might find me at your Ring camera. I've been caught on a couple Ring cameras, which is a little awkward. I had to call Chris to ask, like, what am I supposed to do with the Ring camera? Yeah, I don't know how to do this. RogerChapin.com. We've got the Tiger Bay. We've got a Rosemont forum coming up. So reach out to any of us and ask where you can find us next. So thank you again.
The best place you can find me is at your front door. I've knocked on so many doors already, and I'm proud of it. I'm proud of the work I've done, and I'm proud of the work I'm going to do, not only for this campaign, but for the city of Orlando at large. And if you won't find me at your front door, you can find me at your fingertips. My website is directfororlando.com, and my Instagram is realdirect. Durant, the last name. I'm the real Durant, not that other basketball player. Thank you.
Well, like Chris, I'll hopefully be knocking on your door soon. If you follow me on social, it's Elect Kimberly Kiss. Since the start of my campaign, I've actually had something called Turn Up with Kimberly. And I usually post it on Monday nights or Tuesday mornings, and I let you know where I will be during the week. So I've been going to red light, and having a beer, having lunch at Infusion Tea, but showing up at our different places, our small businesses in the community, so that we can meet. So you can find me at those locations, on the internet, on my social, knocking on your door. I have to tell you, I have actually had coffee with everyone up on the stage, and it is really an amazing group of people to share it with. And I want to thank them for being here and participating, and to our sponsors, because your civic engagement is inspiring me, and to all of you for being here. I mean, this is the first time we've had this many people in, 20 years? And so this is a really exciting time to be in Orlando in District 3, and I hope to be your next city commissioner. Thank you.
I'll be at your door or at miratana.com and at Tiger Bay as well. I also just want to say that, I haven't spent my life saying that my goal is to be an elected official. My goal is to make Orlando more equitable, sustainable, and culturally vibrant. And I think that by running for City Council, I can use my experience in City Hall. I can use my insight from being a transit rider. I can use the values of my Quaker faith to make our city better. So I hope you'll join me, and I want to thank Pastor Sarah, YIMBY Coalition, Sunrise Movement, Bike Coalition, and all of you for coming out today. Thank you so much. And to my fellow candidates, thank you.
Can you all give all of them? I also want to thank again, it's been so fun and amazing collaborating with Sunrise Movement Orlando, with Orlando YIMBY, with the Bike Coalition. It took a lot of people to pull this off. We got a lot of meetings over at Lobos and Startups and wherever, all the places. So it's been wonderful, and I thank you all for coming. And some of you had to come from farther, some of you didn't have to come from very far. And we do want to, can we grab a photo of you all before you go back? And I just want to mention too, we're going to have a school supply giveaway this coming week. And if any of you would like to donate school supplies towards that, they all get sent somewhere. If they don't get picked up by families and kids in need, we pass them on to teachers. So we do have out on the table under the purple awning out there, there's a list of school supplies, and you can just drop school supplies off by the blue doors here, and we'll get them all to people who need them. So thank you all so much for coming out. Thank you for coming out and doing this with us.
And then also